Okay, today we're going to be expanding a little further out on our territory. We're going up to Fulton, Illinois, to meet with Coach Chris Grant. Coach has been the head coach over at Fulton Steamers since 2009-2010 season. Also was nominated in 2016 Clinton Herald Area Wrestling Coach of the Year. So first off, Coach, welcome aboard.
Thank you. It's a honor and a pleasure to be asked to come on to the show. I've seen some of the guys you've had on here, and not sure I'm quite the caliber, but I sure do appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
You are. You're.
Oh yes, you are. You've been and you have a good program going. So crazy times going on right now, Coach. I mean, how are you staying busy? What have you been up to since we've all been down in lockdown?
Well, I guess my summer break started March 13th. So first week or so, I was into the CNNs, the Fox News, all that good stuff, and ended up driving myself crazy and scaring myself even more. So then I kind of started getting out and about, and of course the wife had a lot of honeydew stuff, so I got a lot of that stuff done on my list, a lot of stuff checked off, every nut, bolt, and piece of equipment I could find in my garage is sorted and cleaned and that type of thing. So now I'm starting to wind that stuff up, and I get to get out, get on the boat, get on the Harley, get out and enjoy the weather if we ever get some real nice weather.
Yeah, no doubt. It's coming. I hear it's supposed to warm up later this week. I'm hoping anyway. So Coach, at the very beginning, what got you started in wrestling?
Well, I tell you, I moved down here in '85. My dad got transferred over to Clinton, Iowa, and I was in 8th grade in Albany, which is part of the Fulton district. And the head wrestling coach was my PE science teacher. Coach Olson, Terry Olson. And he did a little week-long segment in PE class. He showed some wrestling moves. Basically, he was recruiting. And he's like, Grant, you ever wrestled before? He's like, I've never seen it. I've never been to a match. Nothing. He's like, well, when you get to high school next year, you need to wrestle. So he was huge in recruited me to the sport of wrestling. I kind of let him down my freshman year, though. I didn't go out. He kind of was a little upset, said, well, you're going to get fat and this, that, and lazy. And sure enough, I did. And so a buddy of mine sophomore year said, I'll go out if you go out, because he was relentless. So I ended up going out my sophomore year. I was right around that 155 weight class at the time. I guess that shows my age, that it was still at 55. And then got stuck into the varsity lineup, got my butt handed to me. I think I went 8-23 that season. But I did learn a lot of stuff along the way. You know, I think you'd like the fact that I was moldable. So yeah, he was the biggest influence, and I had never wrestled before, and I finally went out my sophomore year.
All right. So, Coach, who are some of the influences that kind of paved the way that you styled your wrestling after back then?
Well, like I said, I really was not into wrestling, so I'm one of those stories that kind of got started late. So I took anything from my coach to my teammates. Dan Mahoney, Randy Rash were huge inspirations. They were a couple of years older than me. Seniors kind of took me under their wing. I'm also going to date myself. Loudon Swain was kind of on the movies back then, and that's the one I wanted to be like.
So we have him as a follower, so maybe he'll be listening today and give you a thumbs up.
All right.
So, Coach, Jay and I both know Coach Jay Buc. Jay was, I know, part of the Mount St. Clair Misfits under Coach Danny Knight. How did you meet Coach Buc?
Well, I think it was my second year in. I had Coach Dan Mahoney helping me as my assistant, and he was real good friends with Jay Buc. Says, hey, I got this guy that wants to join in, come over and help our squad. And I was like, oh, I'd be honored, to meet him, see what's going on. I didn't know Jay at all at the time, but we sat down, we visited. Of course, Jay, he's very particular. He had to send me all his credentials. There was a little discussion why he was still wrestling in his 30s at Mount St. Clair. So we got that all cleared up, and I said, man, this guy lives, breathes, and is Mr. Wrestling. So it was an easy decision. Come on board if he's willing and able to come and help us out. I welcomed him, especially with my background. I wasn't, I only had 3 years of wrestling in high school. So I be the first to admit I don't know much. So I scavenge from wherever I can get it, and Jay Buc was a fantastic addition to our program.
Awesome. Great guy.
Definitely a good guy. With this all going on this year, Coach, what do you have your boys doing in the off season to stay in shape, to keep progressing forward? It doesn't look like we're going to have a freestyle or Greco at this point in time, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Last couple of years, I've helped out with the football squad up here. And we have a great weight room guy, and he's been putting out videos and things to do. I got to remind that I get on with my boys and basically, stance of motion, stand-ups, sit-outs, all that stuff that you can do yourself. Get out and run. Just keep your body in shape, keep moving, stay loose. Some of the kids have wrestle mats, at their home or in their garage or their basement. And some of them are still able to work out. These kids these days, I got a teenage daughter at home, and they're still hanging out with their friends and that kind of stuff. They're tight-knit group, so a lot of my wrestlers are tight-knit group also. So some of them are still getting some of that kind of training in. But for the ones that are at home, there's plenty of things that they can be doing to keep their body in shape, keep their mind sharp at home.
Yeah. So
I always volunteer if they want to go. They want to go for a run or a walk. I would go follow them on the Harley or something.
Love it. One of the things I know they can do is watch video. There's so much video available right now, which is definitely one part. But I wanted to ask, how have you seen the sport of wrestling change or evolve kind of since you first started wrestling, getting involved in the sport?
Yeah, just the the weight classes change every once in a while, it's good to get more numbers out. I remember back when I was wrestling how we had 30, 40 kids crammed into a room. I kind of miss that. I'd like to continue. I know I've been doing this almost a dozen years, but I sure would like to see that again at Fulton. It's coming along. It's a process. The technology, we are just now getting into the new digital where you scoreboard, the Mat Boss type technology. That's really going to be helpful. Plus the evolution of now we're seeing girls wrestling just to help promote the sport. I think it's a good thing. And it's a process, but it's far cry from back in the day, I tell my kids that, yeah, man, if I could open up a window and you guys could look into one of our practices back in the day, you would think it was, you know, they were hurting us, beating us. You know, you wouldn't know what was going on in there. So there's a fine line with the kids these days. You're always going to have those kids that are born wrestlers and they have it, but it's a fine line between, you know, pushing these kids and then backing them off and letting them feel it. So we do. You spoke to Coach Butt. So he's usually bad cop. I get to be good cop most of the time when it comes down to that.
Hey, Coach, you had mentioned women's wrestling in there as well. Do you guys have any girls on your team? And where do you see Illinois, you know, in the process of developing that?
I had a girl that went out all 4 years. She had an IEP. She was challenged, but originally when it first started, we thought, oh, this could be a little different, and it was. But I tell you what, most of the guys on the team thoroughly encouraged her to get better. When she went out to wrestle, granted she was, you know, a lot of exhibition, but they would scream and holler just as hard, if not harder, for her to try and get that win. She went out several times, got us some forfeits, but she ended up getting a varsity letter just by going out and getting some forfeits and going out and competing. She wasn't afraid of anything. So I encourage it. I think there's a place, and I'm glad. I'm happy to see that girls are going to a separate league, separate tournament. But this year is my challenge. I need numbers to get to that team title or that team medal down at state. So I'm gonna call student body and girls, boys, anybody that's ever thought of wrestling, come on out, because as you know, numbers win. You know, they really do as far as duels. So as far as Illinois wrestling, it's neat seeing those girls down there at the state tournament a couple of years ago. It's exciting. What I like, and that's kind of what I like, is the girls, they don't have any bad habits already. And what you tell them, they're going to listen. They're going to try it to the best of their ability. And when you put them out on the mat, especially against another girl that's same weight class, similar strength, I think it could get exciting. And I hope that Illinois follows along with the way, you know, the world's going across the nation and the colleges. A huge opportunity for these girls to get some scholarship money too, to go to college.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Coach, you had mentioned earlier about going out and, you know, really pounding the pavement, finding ways to fill your roster. One thing I've noticed with Fulton, a smaller school, probably graduating class of 80, 90 people, you never have holes in your roster, or very rarely do you. You want to talk a little bit about that? And then also, we recently posted something about 2 weeks ago about the reduction of weight classes. I just want to see your thoughts on that, reducing from 14 spots down to 12.
Yeah, about our lineup, we get, you know, there was a couple of years ago, I had quite a few numbers at 25 or so, but normally I'm at 17, 18, 19 kids, and I got to spread them out like peanut butter, trying to get to cover the weight classes. And we usually do a pretty good job with that. Trying to fill 14 weight classes with, you know, 18 kids is pretty tough. But I think, and that's just a matter of, you know, getting in the hallways. I know I left for about 3-4 years and went and did a different profession, and now I'm back in the hallways. So that really helps. Our state qualifier this year was a kid that's, walking the hallways. And we were 2 weeks into the season, and I said, just come to practice and try it out. And he ended up coming to practice and just rolling around and never left. Ended up getting the medal down at Fresh Off State. And then this year he ended up making it all the way to the show. So you got to stay on him. You got to put the word out there. You got to make it sound fun. You got to make it, it is a family. Once you're a steamer, you're always a steamer. We got a saying, steamer wrestling for life, because a lot of my coaches are previous alumni. But I think, and I understand what they're trying to do, because a lot of people can't fill weight classes. But when I'm getting close, most of the time, filling most of my weight classes with 19 guys, these teams with 40 and 50 and upwards of that, there's absolutely no reason they should be filling 14 weight classes. I honestly think maybe they should add one around that 220 weight class in order to get that gap down a little bit. But you're looking at the smaller weight classes, what happened to those 98 pounders? If we're starting to get these girls in some of these small schools that don't have a girls squad, they can fill those later weight classes. You could get a 100-pounder that could be a 4-time state qualifier. And it might be one of those boys that's on the 5 foot and up and weighs 100 pounds, thinking he's going to be a basketball star, riding the bench. Those are the ones you approach and you say, "Hey, bud, I need you to come out. I'll give you the 5 moves you need to be successful, and let's see what we can do." I think cutting the weight classes is not the right thing to do at this time. You just have to deal with the forfeits. I'm sorry, it sucks.
I think I sent Jay like a celebratory text message, like, yes, I feel like we won, when I read that they were not going to, at least nationally, reduce the weight classes. I think the more weight classes, the more opportunities for kids, that's a good thing. I've seen some bigger schools, like 2,000 plus population size student body with 3 or 4 forfeits in the middle, 152, 160, 170. Like, to me, that is a controllable thing. Not that the coaches aren't working hard and doing their best, but something else is the problem, not the number of weight classes. That's my take on it.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm not going to say we've always had full lineups, but sometimes my 38-pounder, for an example, drink some water. You don't have to cut weight this week. You're going to wrestle at 45 or 52, so we can fill the weight class. We want wrestling time. We don't want to, I didn't make weight. My buddy beat me out. Now I'm going to sit over here on the sideline. No, you're going to wrestle. Whoever, a lot of times whoever wins, all right, you get choice. Here's the deal. And we'll look at our lineups and we'll see the matchups and okay, here's the deal. My 38-pounder, you can bump up and you'll wrestle 45. You're 45, and a lot of times, we'll bump a whole lineup just to make sure everybody's wrestling.
Sure. And forfeits are going to happen. I mean, unfortunately, we know injuries, kids get sick. I mean, stuff like that occurs. But I love it that you're doing your best to minimize those. That's what I think we all need to try to strive for. More wrestling, more mat time. It helps everyone, I think.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of great coaches that we run into all season long. And if you say, "Hey, I got a first-year wrestler, but I'm throwing him in at 145, don't let your kid kill him. let him get a couple minutes, a wrestling time before you put him away. That's great. And 9 times out of 10, that's how it goes down too.
I like it. So who would you say was your most influential coach that you had, and why?
Well, like I said, Coach Terry Olson, he's the one that got me into wrestling back when I was just a little 8th grader. And I wrestled 3 years, and I wasn't done yet. I wanted more. I ended up going down to Illinois State, tried and walked on for about 3 or 4 weeks, got crap beat out of me. But I would say there's one guy specific as a coach now that I'm back here at Fulton. I no sooner moved back, took the teaching position in Fulton, and Ernie Rock approached me and said, "Hey, I need somebody. I'm getting older. I need somebody to help, get this little kids program going up here." So he hook, line, and sinkered me, and I had 2 boys at the time that were 5th and 6th grade, so it was prime time. Ernie Rock, kind of kept Steam Wrestling going through the late 70s, early 80s. They had actually canceled the program, and we had several guys in the community and that were going to sponsor. They were going over the Y wrestling. There's probably 8 of them, I suppose. And Ernie was, kept that going. He helped coach. And then these 3 other community members would get them to tournaments, that kind of thing. So he kept it going. He also beat on me when I was wrestling in high school. So most influential would probably be E-Rock, just as far as great character, how to treat kids, make wrestling fun, to get your numbers up, treat them with respect. He's the one that's given me a lot of my coaching philosophies along the way. 5 moves, you get 2 takedowns and move from the bottom and a couple pinning combinations, and you can do a lot of things if you get really, really good at them.
I like
takedowns. If you can take somebody down, you can never lose. The 3 H's, he's passed it along: hands, head, and hip. So he's really kind of took me under his wing, and kind of set me free. So I hope I make him proud.
That's great. Thank you. I'll throw out there too, the Little Steamers Club. Any tournament you go to, any youth tournament around here, they're all over the place. I mean, I think you've got a pretty good group of little guys going.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wore the River Bend, because we get a lot of, where in the heck is River Bend from? And we had that when I was going through with my 2 boys and the Fleetwoods. We'd get that all the time. We're out in, Chicago or Virginia Beach or whatever we're doing. Where in the heck is River Bend? And how do you get all these, kids? It's fun to see when we do our little kids night, and it takes 5 minutes for all the kids to come out onto the mat. It's really cool. But, that is where a program, I went and started with my small kids and ran it through for about 8 years. And now I have fantastic guys, Jeremy Fosdick and Aaron Keeble and Amanda Fosdick. They're fantastic down there. I have great coaches. And it just keeps rebooting every year, as the kids grow and come through. There's several that I'm probably, missing out there, but it is a process, and it's a program that's just getting bigger and bigger. Now it's my job to make sure that we keep them out, we make it fun, and we make sure they're successful when they get to high school.
Hey, Coach, you're doing a great job with these young kids, making them into incredible adults down on the River Valley there. You mentioned you're also a teacher as well as a coach. So, I mean, if you do your job successful, where do you want to see your wrestlers, your athletes in the next chapter of life, you know, when you release them on after they graduate?
Yeah, every year I talk with my the team coming in, and you know, we've had some state champs, we've had some state qualifiers, quite a few of them, and you know, when it's all said and done, I want these kids to come out being, you know, good people, good dads, good contributors to the community, somebody that, you know, once they get out of school and I see them in 5 years, oh man, that's a stand-up guy. I would hire him to help me do, you know, off-site jobs or give them recommendations. I just want them to be successful. Those that maybe come from a not a very good background, be their leaning post, their listening post. Let them know that, you know, you're going to run into trials and tribulations in life, and that it's not the end of the world. Most of us are not going to be Olympic champions, national champions. We're not going to go on to that next level. So when I see these kids leave, basically I want them to know, you know, when you get old and fat like me, I want you to come back and help the program, you know, and be good people, really.
Good message. I think a lot of our communities and a lot of our other wrestling programs need to adapt that as well.
Yeah, I was just going to add, one of the best things about wrestling to me is that it helps us overcome, and it kind of teaches us how to overcome adversity. Speaking of adversity, we're all three kind of overcoming my internet issues tonight, so I'll apologize again for that.
You look like you're feeling a lot better now.
Good. So speaking of adversity and obstacles and stuff like that, what would you say is the biggest obstacle that you had to overcome, either as a wrestler or now as a coach?
Well, I told you I had two sons that one graduated in 16, one graduated in 17. My oldest son's senior year, and mind you, we had traveled, you know, they had done, obviously I've been coaching them since they were 5th, 6th grade. That challenge of being a coach and being a dad, leaving it, you know, not taking it home and let's watch the video and let's go over and you know, there's a fine line there. But I'll tell you, one of the challenges I had is my oldest son's senior year, we are at sectionals. Both of them were within one weight class of each other. One was 52, one was 60. Both of them in the blood round. You win, you're in. You lose, you're done. My oldest son started on one mat. I'm coaching him, and he's wrestling a tight match, real tight match. My youngest son starts on the other mat, so I continue with my oldest one while Coach Buc and Mahoney are on the other one. And as Cole's getting close, he's got a pretty good competitor. I jump over there to kind of finish him out while Sam's still going along. And Cole ends up winning in the last second. I jump back over. I didn't really get to, you know, celebrate with him because he was going. I gave him a hug and I was, okay, Sam's back over here. Jumped to the other side, and Sam, his opponent, was getting away. He's hanging on to his ankles, and he couldn't hang on. And with 3 seconds left, it broke free, and that was the match. So I tell you, it was tough having one make it and the senior not. So, but he took it really well. It just goes to show that he was set and destined to be, you know, there's something greater for him in the book. So, and then a week later, the kid he had beaten ended up, you know, winning the state championship. So there's something there. And my oldest son, he's going to turn out to be a great coach someday. So I'm excited about that.
Excellent, Coach. So looking forward and kind of looking at this past season, can you tell us about how this past season went and then the outlook coming next year? Looks like you got a strong young squad coming up.
Yeah, we had a pretty young team this year. Again, we only had one senior, but we had some really talented freshmen coming through, and we got some pretty darn good juniors this year. There was it seems like every year the wheels on the bus fall off at some point throughout the season. Sickness or skin crud, whatever. But there was teams, even as young as we were, ranked teams that we should have, could have, would have, hindsight could have beaten if we'd have kept all the wheels on the bus. So there's great opportunity, great talent there. And I'm thinking as far as next year, we're just going to move to that next level. All those juniors are going to now be seniors, big leaders. All those sophomores are going to have another year under the belt. And a couple of those freshmen were darn close to making it to state this year. Now, next year, we're going to add some new freshmen, some key players. Finally get Royce, Coach Bud over on this side of the river so we can get Royce on the lineup. Plus, we got a couple other kids that were IESA qualifiers. They didn't get to compete, so hopefully they're hungry for that. My thing is I just want to make sure that we get the season in. Right now, I'm concerned, like you said earlier, I don't know if we're going to get any off-season tournaments. I just want to make sure that we can get this season in because we are about ready to pop. When I started 12 years ago, my one goal is all the championships and all the place medals and all that stuff's gonna work itself out. My goal is to take a team down there and bring a medal home. That's when you know that you're building a program. The kids are coming together. They're wrestling for each other, not for themselves. And we're about ready to pop. So the first wave with the Fleetwood boys and the Heinets and that kind of stuff was awesome. But I think this wave is going to be bigger.
That's really exciting stuff. One thing, so not too long ago, Jay and I worked on a college tracking board. We wanted to throw on our website just a list of all the current Quad City boys who are, or girls, Quad City wrestlers who are competed in college. And I noticed, I'd heard Eli Pennell and Tyler Fleetwood before, but I noticed you've got, for such a small school, you've got 2 kids out there in the college ranks right now. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool stuff. That's a lot for the current group to kind of look up and see what's possible, I think. Yeah,
if you look back, there hasn't been a whole lot from Fulton that's went on to wrestle. So for us to have, and at one time we had both Fleetwood boys out at Wartburg, and they're in a class of their own. So if they're taking some of our kids, you're doing something right, which is really awesome. They got a great coaching staff, great program going out there. So my youngest son went to Central, tried that out, got to do a little wrestling for a while. Didn't work out to be his bag, but yeah, we still, we got Eli out there and we got Tyler out there out at Wartburg. And, when you got that type of caliber colleges wanting to take your kids, you're doing something right. And I'm ecstatic for those kids to be able to continue that.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. So I think Jay and Coach, we're to our OT sudden death questions. This is the fun part. First question, what is your favorite wrestling movie?
Oh, got to be Vision Quest, that old school. Now, I'll give you a little thing to that. When I first started coaching, I thought we were going to get the kids in the wrestling room, and I was going to show this movie, Vision Quest, because it was kind of a motivational thing for me. I didn't realize how much romance and lovey-dovey stuff was in that to show these big head wrestlers. So I kind of got away from that, from doing that with the teams now. So.
I'm laughing at that. I found out the same thing. I tried showing my son that video. I'm like, you just got to watch this movie once. And we watched it together. I'm like, oh, I don't remember all that going on.
I know. It's fast forwarding through.
All right. Favorite superhero, Coach?
I'm a Thor man. Thor.
Chocolate or vanilla ice cream?
Vanilla with lots of toppings.
Favorite wrestling match of all time?
Oh, well, I'm going to stay in my wheelhouse. I've got some, fantastic memories. These kids going through, Tyler Fleetwood wrestling Noah Villarreal was outstanding wrestling match. And then I'll go to Eli Nell's championship match. Was just two freaking giants going at it, and either one of them could have won. Two Clydesdales going at it, just exhausted, and we came out on top. I get comments a lot about, man, that had to be the best match out of all of them, So that was super exciting. And then to cap off an undefeated season. On top of it, that's probably my favorite.
That's great. That's awesome. How about the greatest Olympic wrestler? Your greatest U.S. Olympic wrestler?
You got to go with Gable. If not, I'll hear Coach Buc screaming for Fulton. So, with coaching Eli in an undefeated season, I cannot imagine doing that at the national or the world level. It's just incredible.
All right, with Shutdown Coach, first of all, your favorite food, and then let's plug a local restaurant when we go down to Fulton where we need to eat.
I'm a pizza man, so you got to plug the Manny's Pizza up here and the tacos. So you really have to enjoy the heck out of that. Manny's, that's a staple. He's a great supporter of the Fulton Steamers. He's got the team pictures on the wall. So anytime you're up here, we'll take you out. We'll get you some thin crust pizza and some tacos.
That's great. I love their food too. So definitely you got to stop up there. Anyone up that way.
So other than the fact that we might not get any freestyle or Greco, we haven't talked much about it, but I wanted to ask, what's your favorite style, favorite wrestling style?
Well, I tell you, I didn't know originally that there was other styles because I was that much of a rookie. So the further down the road that I got and working with the Fleetwood boys, Todd Fleetwood really opened my eyes, and we started going to off season doing some freestyle. We went out to Lisbon for our very first tournament because, Todd's the one that knew freestyle. I knew nothing about it. They did a fantastic job out at Lisbon, giving us a little lesson on, how it scores, the kids out there, and it was a ton of fun. We ended up doing a pile of freestyle tournaments that summer, and that, I think it's just exciting. It's fast-paced. You're moving all the time. So I would have to say freestyle. But then you go, you get the Grecos with when coaching Eli, and Toronto's did a fantastic job with him, chucking people around. That's exciting when you get the crowd going ooh and ah. That's a lot of fun too. So
you mentioned that Lisbon wrestling tournament too. Brad Alger, that guy makes it always a lot of fun with his announcing as well. So, all right, how about your favorite football?
I was born and raised in Minnesota. I always gave my mom and dad crap why I wasn't born in New England. But I'm a Vikes fan, true and true. Hopefully, before I kick the bucket, we can get a win, but we'll see.
Do you have a favorite vacation destination?
If I ever disappear and nobody can find me, I am in Anna Marie Island in Florida. It's one of the coolest, sweetest places ever. The sand is like powdered sugar. That's where I'll be.
I'm gonna have to look that up, Coach. All right, the question we always wrap everything up on, Coach. Favorite quotes.
I have a quote that was actually my senior year quote in the yearbook, and I put it on all my emails. Of course, being in education, I don't even know who wrote it. I'm just gonna plagiarize it, I guess. But learning is a journey. The end is never found.
Love it.
Love it. Love it. Well, Coach, that wraps it up for us. So on behalf of Rob and myself, thank you. Keep them Fulton Steamers working and paddling upstream and doing a great job up there. So keep it up.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. It's been fantastic talking with you. Again, I'm honored to be on the show.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a like and a follow on Facebook and Twitter at QCA Wrestle. And keep an eye out for more QCA wrestling content coming soon.